A very warm welcome to the top three qualifiers for the FIA Formula One Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. In third place, George Russell. In second place, Oscar Piastri. And taking the 42nd pole position of his Formula One career and his second of the 2025 campaign, our pole sitter, Max Verstappen. Max, a quite brilliant lap by you this evening. I've asked you many times in your career now, but how good was that lap?
Good enough, clearly. I felt immediately more confident when I headed into qualifying. We made some minor changes to the car, but they were clearly big enough to feel. And I think that's a bit the story of our car. It can be like really hit and miss. When we get it right, I think it's competitive, of course. But when we don't get it right, it's a lot more difficult. All of qualifying went well. Of course, around here, it's I think always important to have quite a bit of rhythm. So naturally, you do quite a lot of laps. Also, the tires, luckily, they hold on to do that. Of course, then the red flag in Q3 is not ideal, but of course, everyone has to deal with that. So we opted for that 2-lap strategy, and I'm happy that we did that. Just kept me on top of things, and it felt good.
You've talked about the car, but can you talk about that last lap? Did you leave anything on the table? Was it as good a lap as Suzuka 2 weeks ago?
I think at the end of the day, you just need to try and have a clean lap, try to be on the limit. But around here, honestly, it's super hard because some corners, like you want to try and be super close to the wall. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Braking into 22 is very bumpy, so you don't even see where you're going when you turn in. So it's very hard to get everything right. But clearly it was good enough. And of course, in Q3 you risk everything a bit more.
Now, a week is a long time in Formula One. Can we just compare and contrast the car you were driving last week in Bahrain to the one you have here, and why it is so better suited to this racetrack?
A few more high-speed corners. The tarmac is, of course, completely different, which then, of course, has a big influence on the tires as well. Now, naturally, when you have tracks where you need a lot of rotation mid-corner, and long duration corners, which you have in Bahrain, that's a big problem for us. And here, it just seems to be a little bit more competitive. I'm not saying that it's solved, but at least it gave me an opportunity to push a bit better and deal with the limitations that we have a bit better.
Now, Max, looking ahead to tomorrow, there's a good conversion rate from pole to race win at this track. Just how confident are you of the race pace?
Up until now, not very confident, to be honest. I mean, my long runs weren't particularly great compared to Oscar or Orlando. I'm going to give it everything I have for sure. Does it mean that I have enough? I don't know, but the car definitely took a bit of a step forward, I think, compared to what we were testing yesterday. So I hope that will help our tire life out as well. But difficult to say if that gives it an opportunity to fight. But like I said, I'm going to give it a go.
Very well done. Thank you, Max. Oscar, let's come to you now. It was a mesmerising session. All three of you put in tremendous laps in Q3. Did you feel that yours was good enough for pole position?
At the time, I felt like it was a good lap, yes. I made a bit of a mistake on the first lap and, managed to get through that corner much better on the second attempt. And when you need 100th, you can think of a few places, but no, honestly, it was a good lap that I was happy with, and I think Max did a very good job today, and that was pretty much all we had.
How destabilizing was the red flag in Q3, both for you and for the team?
It was all right for me. I was the only one with a lap on the board, so I knew that lap probably wasn't going to be enough anyway. So I knew that I would have to go back out and improve. But it is, a little bit more, a little bit nicer when you have a lap already on the board. But again, when you have to go out there and do a better job, then it kind of renders that one somewhat useless. I also saw that Max was 1,000th faster after that before I went back out, so I knew that I had to improve to get back on pole. But yeah, it was a good lap, and no regrets really.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, you had to sit behind Max for pretty much the whole race. Do you think there'll be more opportunity for you tomorrow?
Do that again. I'll see. I'll see how I feel. I think we've got good pace. I think I think the Red Bull and Max look more competitive here than they did certainly last week, and Suzuka is not a completely different layout to somewhere like here with a lot of high-speed corners, so it kind of makes sense to me, at least, that they're a bit more competitive, and we'll see if that translates to the race tomorrow. But I'm feeling confident in what we've got. There's a lot of DRS zones around here, which is a nice difference to Suzuka. So yeah, let's see if we can make some progress.
All right. Very well done to you, Oscar. Thank you, George. Let's come to you now as well. A brilliant lap by you. What aspect of Q3 were you most pleased with?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm a little bit mixed feelings right now because I felt there was a bit more on the table, and there's a lot of pressure going into that last lap because Oscar had a lap on the board. I think the run plan that Max did with the 2 laps was a really good one, and one we didn't really consider. And just having that lap on the board sort of takes the pressure off. So when you go into turn 1, you got to really send it, and you're braking at 75 meters. When you've got no lap on the board, it's like, I've got no bailout here. I'm P10 if I make the smallest of mistakes. So, look, P3 is much better than I thought, and to be so close to Oscar. Again, congrats to Max. He did a great job. Yeah, it's going to be interesting tomorrow.
Was 2 laps with a hot pit stop even discussed in the pits?
It was, to be honest. It was discussed, but more to actually start on the new and put the U's on after we. So I'm sure it was discussed in the pit wall. I'm not privy to every single conversation because, I'm just driving the car ultimately at that point, and I put my trust in the team. But it's something we'll discuss afterwards because I think it's something, as I said, as a driver, just knowing you've only got that one lap, and especially on a track like this, you've got to be full commitment. And I just feel it was just that turn 1. It was just, you're pushing the tyres to be as cold as possible, and I didn't have the confidence to push them any cooler. So I lost a bit of lap time with my tyres being a bit too hot because I was just being a little bit too conservative with them. So as I said, P3 is a great place to start. I think the DEG on the medium is going to be pretty high. So there will be, I hope, more opportunities than Japan.
Well, what about the race? There's very little to choose between you over 1 lap. Can you challenge for the win tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it depends on turn 1, to be honest. I think, Max and I were just talking now. We both recognise McLaren are the standout favourites and definitely have the pace on everybody else. So if Oscar gets into the lead, you'll probably see a repeat of Bahrain. If we stay in the order we qualified, I think it could be a tight race until the pit stops. And the medium tyre this year was last year's soft, which I think only 1 driver used in the whole race. And that's kind of what we want. We saw the tyres were too hard in Japan. We've all pushed to have softer tyres, and hopefully it won't make it a slam dunk 1 stop. And it could be a couple of different strategies on the table.
All right, very well done to you as well. Let's now open this to the floor, please. Who's got a question?
My question is to Max. Congratulations. I'm Luca Bassani from Car Magazine Brazil. I would like to ask you, you said many times during this year that the car isn't as it should be, but as we have seen in Japan and also here, you have done it very well as today. Like the last lap was amazing. What role does a day like this, so high on strategy, play for the rest of the season? And also, I'd like to know if the Lando's crash influenced the decision of the team to attempt for the second lap as fast as it was. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, you just keep on trying to fine tune, of course, before qualifying, to find that perfect balance. We tried a lot of setup directions again this weekend, and I think we chose the right one going into qualifying. And then, of course, it's basically just fine-tuning all the way through that. And yeah, we are learning. We are trying to understand our car a lot better, because it really has been a bit more hit and miss than we would have liked, I think, so far this year. So yeah, again, a positive that we did get it right here. And then, yeah, with the crash, I think the only thing that it then meant was that, of course, you had to change your approach. And I wasn't entirely sure what to do. And at the end of the day, GP said, let's fuel it for 2 laps. So you do the first lap on that, what do you even call a used outlap tire, and then you pit and you go on to the new. Of course, naturally, you carry a bit more fuel, so you're a bit slower in the first time. And I think it was the right call. At the end, that was definitely the right thing to do for me, at least in terms of the feeling I had with the car and building up to the limit.
Thank you, Max. Next, please. Luke.
Luke Smith from F1. Max, just on that, finding the limit, obviously your magic lap in 2021 that ended with the crash at the final corner, like that shows just how fine the margins are around here. Is this one of the toughest tracks of the season to really find that edge, and how much of it is about confidence? Because you see a crash like Lando's, for example, like just goes a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very tough track, honestly. Like, I think every time you go out, it's a bit like Monaco, but then, of course, much more high speed, where you go out and you're like, okay, let's get ready to send it, where some other tracks, it just happens a bit more naturally. So yeah, it requires big commitment from every driver to try and be as close to the walls on at the apex, on entry, exit. But it is very enjoyable to drive.
Thanks for that. Next, please.
Christian Minard, Motorsport Magazine. Another one for you, Max. You mentioned the changes you did to the setup. Have you done those changes overnight or between FP3 and qualifying? Because in FP3, McLaren was on another universe. Was it just conditions, setup, run plan in FP3? Any explanation for that?
No, I mean, the main differences were yesterday, where we tried a lot of things. And today we chose the setup that we thought was the right way forward for here. And from FP3 to qualifying was more like tiny adjustments. So yeah, I don't know. Honestly, the gap in FP3 was massive. So it just shows that when, the track is really hot, that's where I think all of the other teams except McLaren are lacking a lot of pace. So it basically means our tires are overheating more than theirs. And we just can't seem to keep that as well under control as them.
Thank you. Another one.
Ronald Vording, motorsport.com. It's another one for Max. Do you think this is purely track specific due to the things that you mentioned before with the very high speed here, the tarmac and the conditions? Or do you think you also made a step after Bahrain with some minor bits on the car and maybe understanding the RB21 a bit better step by step?
Every car is a bit better in different areas. Sometimes the car is better in high speed, medium speed, low speed, rough surface, smooth surface. And this definitely is a bit better for our car.
Any more? Yes, another one.
Ed Straw, the race one for you, Max. On those changes you made, was it sort of purely confidence and global benefit, or was there a specific area, lower speed range, faster corners, where it was really giving you an improvement?
Yeah, let's hand out the setup sheet. No, I want to learn more about the car, because if I keep doing the same thing every weekend with the issues that we have, you're not learning anything. So some things work, some things don't work. And you note everything down and you continue to find different things with the car. And that's what we did again today.
Okay, another one, please. Yeah.
Ronald Vording, motorsport.com. Another one for Max. Do you feel the changes that you made, do you feel the changes that you made also benefit your race pace in the long run? Because Helmut said yesterday, I'm quite happy with the picture over one lap, but now we have to find a balance between that and long run. So do you feel it can benefit both, or will it one hurt the other?
Well, I haven't said what I tested that I used. So I don't know. I mean, our long runs haven't been great so far. Now, naturally, I think with how the car was reacting today, it will be a bit better, but I don't think it will be enough to be super competitive, especially on the medium. I don't know, on the hard, I haven't touched it. So, it just shows that, when it gets a bit warmer, so like FP3, that's where we are really lacking. And now naturally in the race, you stabilize at a high temperature. And that's where, in general, most of the teams are struggling a bit more. And that will be the same tomorrow. But let's see how good or how bad we will be.
Thank you. Another one.
Christian Mehnert, motorsportmagazin.com. Question for you, Oscar. You had the lap on the board, but did you consider to go out for 2 laps in the end as well? I mean, just to get into the rhythm, warming up the systems and so on?
We spoke about it, yes, but decided against it. I think, considering I had a lap on the board, I obviously didn't need to put another one on there. And it was going to be extremely tight. As Max said, he had to fuel for the whole run. So that first lap on used tires with a bit more fuel, you're kind of weighing up how much you're learning and how much actually is it going to put you off. I think when you don't have a lap on the board, obviously it's a very different scenario. But for us, with a lap on the board, we'd done like 3 or 4 new sets in a row. So we decided to just go for that single lap at the end, and I think for us it was the right decision.
Just for today, I'm not gonna do any comment or to give any opinion. I'm just a bit of tired, and just we ask from you just to don't forget to like the video, comment it, and also subscribe to the channel.